I'm admitting everyone now. So best behavior, Chelle.
I am always good.
Okay. Oh, hang on. There's more people joining. Welcome,
Sure.
everyone. It feels weird to do a Zoom and not be able to see everyone's reactions. Oh, hang on. What's happening here? Julia, I'm going to have to turn your camera off. I'm sorry.
No props.
It's good to see you, though.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Okay, girls, I just want to tell everyone how this is going to work before I welcome you all. The only videos that we're going to see are me, Chelle, and Rihanna, and Jody if she arrives. Jody, I'm sorry if I miss you. Rihanna, will you tell me if she arrives, please?
You got it.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, I have to admit everyone singly now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Can you guys see that list on the right of all the people who are here?
No, no.
No, so I'm completely in charge of that. That's great. For everyone, I am not the best at technology. We should have put Chelle in charge of this, or Rihanna, or Jody, not me.
I think you can change like who can also have.
Oh, I can. I saw that somewhere before, Chelle. Where'd you go?
You guys are hilarious.
Make co-host. There you go, Chelle. If I make you a co-host,
She should be able to see who comes
maybe
in
she
too.
can find my chat for me.
Y'all are sad.
Is that you, Renita?
Yes. Y'all damn lunatics.
Okay, so let's just do some housekeeping. What we're going to do, I'm going to ask everyone to keep their video off, please, because otherwise there's just going to be too many videos. And also, if we can just like keep everyone muted. If you have a question, there is a chat bar in the right-hand side. Hopefully everyone can see it. I cannot, I lost it. But I think, Chelle, you can see yours, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rihanna can too. Okay. If Jody arrives, Chelle, if Jody arrives, can you like get her to start her video, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm only a little bit frantic at the moment because technology and me are not friends. Oh, there's Z. Hey, Z. Okay, I'm Nina, and this is Chelle Bliss.
Hi.
And Rihanna is over here. She's one of our readers, and she's going to help us co-host this. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Rihanna and Chelle will keep an eye on it, and I will not because I cannot see it. Okay, so for anyone who has not met Chelle yet, she writes Protective Alphas. I actually looked up some reviews of yours, Chelle, to get like descriptions of what your readers think about.
Oh my
your
God,
book.
don't tell me. I don't read reviews.
Romance, humor, heat, and family. That's what the reviews tell me. Would that be about accurate?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm too scared to read reviews.
I counted how many books you've written, and I got to about 54. Is that about right?
Sure. I've lost count.
I'm the same. I know when people ask me how many books have you written, maybe 30, maybe 35, not sure.
Yeah, I usually say 40 and I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah. That included all your co-writes as well when I was counting. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I found your reading order list and it doesn't have some of your books on there, just FYI. Starfalls, is Starfall series part of Men of Ink?
No, it's
Okay.
not.
It's separate.
So usually the reading order list I do is like the Men of Ink series of like all the different series, but stuff that isn't, I don't usually put it in there.
Right, got you. Yeah.
So
Chelle's website is menofink.com. That's your main website, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So she has a reading order list and all her books are listed on there if you want to check them out. There's some seriously hot covers on there.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite cover?
Do I have a favorite cover? Probably Resist Me is still one of my favorites with the couple on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that one.
Yeah. Nice.
Covers are so hard, aren't they?
They get harder and harder, it feels.
They do. Mhm.
Also, I mean, it gets harder and harder with Amazon's restrictions. So
Yeah, I mean, I love couples on covers, but man, forget about it for like advertising. So yeah.
yeah.
Which
I
one of your covers is your favorite?
was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. Generally whichever one I'm writing at the time, right? I do love Bradford at the moment. I just have to tell you, I have to warn you, I have a 6-month-old puppy and I've been trying to get her to sleep, but she's suddenly just woken up. And so like, I apologize. She's about to start barking. I'm sorry. Hang on one
That's
second.
okay.
Come here.
Let Peanut in.
Okay, I'll have to hold her.
She's so cute.
This is Gigi. Yes, yes. Okay, Chelle. So I was thinking back to when we first met, and it would have been like 2014, right?
Like when we first started talking online?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was about 2014.
yeah.
Like I was doing Throttle Me and you were writing Fierce?
Yeah,
No.
so 2014. Yeah.
No. Yes. Which was one of like, I don't know if that's the one you were writing at the time.
I think it probably was. I was thinking about it this morning, and I remember you used to post a good morning message every single morning on Facebook and chat with your readers. And that was when I was going to bed, right? So I would do a last minute check of Facebook and I'd be like, where's Chelle's message? Oh, there she is. Good night. I can go now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time, right?
Yeah. Because did you start publishing 2013?
You know what? I honestly can't remember. I thought it was 2013, and then I went back and looked at my very first book and it said 2014. So
No, it had to be, you published before me. It had to be 2013.
yeah.
I'm sure you published before me, right? It's Jody.
I don't know. Hold on one second. There's 2 animals in my backyard and I don't know what they are.
Should you go
I'm
check?
really old. I can't see.
Are they bears? Do you live with bears?
No, I don't know if they're groundhogs or raccoons. I don't, something keeps eating my stuff. I think you published first.
Oh, okay.
You know what?
It doesn't really matter.
It seems like a blur, doesn't it?
It
feels
does.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 10 years this year, right? Long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. And we've both been through a lot in that 10 years. So
Yeah. Oh, I think everyone has too, right?
oh yeah.
First, before I start with the question, how are you loving your new home?
I am loving it. Hold on one second. Brian went outside. He doesn't know there's animals out there. Hold on.
Welcome, Jody.
Babe, there's 2
gone.
animals back by your
Oh,
woodpile shed.
People problems on these days.
Raccoon. Be careful going back there. See him moving? All right, sorry. How am I loving my new house? I don't know.
Not the
I
answer
like
I was expecting.
I like it more than I did. I don't, I'm still like getting used to it. How do you like your new home?
I've been living here 5 years, so nearly.
Oh, well then it's not so new. I've been here almost 2. It's nice. I mean, I like it, but we're always working on it because it was a fixer upper. So
Do you miss Florida?
I miss places we would go to, like places we would eat at and stuff like that, but I don't miss the heat. You know, it's nice to be up here by friends and family, so that part's nice. I do miss my friends in Florida that I had,
Yeah.
but like it doesn't matter. Oh, they're raccoons. Oh, he's like 10 feet from them. If I hear screaming and I go running,
I'll know why.
they're like babies.
Is he going to come say hi later?
Maybe he's like this out there staring at the raccoons like the boss. Oh, I should bring my computer out there so you could see them. They're so cute. So yeah, I like it. Like this is my office, but I still have never wrote in it.
Where do you write?
On the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just to get used to like, I don't know about you. I like to write in the same spot. Like I have a schedule, like not a schedule, but you know, so for me to change that, it was hard enough to move here and change like where I write. I have like almost like a ritual.
Yeah.
Now to like transition to here. But I do have to start writing in my office because Brian's daughter got out of the service and she's moving back to Ohio and she's going to be staying with us. So I think I need to move out of the living room and actually use my office for what it was intended for. So
yeah. Can you write at a desk or do you have to be at a couch?
I've never written at a desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to switch to a standing desk last year. So that's changed for me, which is good.
Oh, do you like it?
Yeah, because my back was getting really bad. So you have one.
Yeah, I've never used it.
As I say, you have everything, right?
I was like, I'm gonna get in shape, and like I tried it once and I was like, this is such a weird feeling.
Standing.
Yeah, standing, like I'm really clumsy, so I'm scared that as I'm typing, I'm gonna like fall off the edge or something like that.
Oh, what are you standing on when you're on there?
Oh, I have like a little slow walking treadmill.
Oh, okay, got you. Yes. So Jodie's dad, I used to have a treadmill, and Jodie's dad actually built me a wood table to put over the top of it to type on. And it was awesome. But I had to put this treadmill on the slower speed because I was worried. But I think that's still good though, right? It's still standing. It's still like moving your joints a bit. So I really recommend stand desk. It's been an amazing game changer for me.
I'm going to try because, you know, with what we do, we sit way, way too much. And it really started to affect my health. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. My first question, my actual real question to you is, are you ready? Are you getting stressed?
I'm having a hot flash, but go ahead.
Oh my God, I'm pretty sure I had my first one the other day. Not here for it. Did you always want to be an author?
No. Did you?
Yes, always. What made you?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I did start writing at a young age and I had forgotten about it, but one of my friends was like, don't you remember you used to always write poetry in middle school and high school? I wish I still had some of those poems. And I was like, yeah, I did. But then I didn't think about it. I went to college and I went to school to be a teacher. And then I did that for 10 years. So, you know, I didn't even, I don't know. I think being an author that, you know, until the indie world popped up, it was something that wasn't really attainable for most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that changed it when the whole indie world, he's throwing like stuff at these little baby raccoons. I'm going to go throw things at him. Do you have raccoons in Australia?
I don't think so. Do we, Jodie? Jodie's gone.
I don't think so.
No. Just before we proceed, I just want to give all the late joiners a quick we're just keeping everyone's videos off, please. Yes, Gigi.
I absolutely do not think that we have raccoons. Thank God.
Why? They're so cute.
Are they?
They're really smart too.
They are very smart. I'm gonna go yell at him. They are extremely smart, and yeah, they don't bother me, raccoons.
Sassy foxes. Z says her family calls them sassy foxes.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Are you heading out to see them? Are you going to show us
a walk in my house because I'm gonna go yell at Mr. Bliss for trying to chase away my raccoons. I'm trying to make it so you can't see my mess in my home. Leave those baby raccoons alone. He said they're scared of nothing. Here, you guys say hi to the ladies on the Zoom call.
Hello.
How you doing?
Brian?
Looks beautiful there.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you well?
Yeah. You?
Yeah. I heard you're chasing some sassy foxes.
That's what they call them, the raccoons.
Yeah, they don't give two fucks either. I could probably walk up and pick it up and it wouldn't care.
There's two of them, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. We could keep talking.
No, so do you miss teaching?
I miss the students. that's about it. I don't miss any other part of it. But I still have some students I still talk to.
Nice.
So, oh my God, they're so little. They are so little. As long as there's not a mom. I don't know if you could see them.
I think so. They're like those little black. Oh yeah, I can see it moving. So is Brian trying to get them away because they cause damage?
Can you see it?
I missed what you said.
Can you see
Yes,
it?
if you saw it,
I can see it.
it is little. They must be little babies.
Oh my God, that means mom's around here and she's gonna kill me. Oh my God, it's so cute. I want to keep it.
Very cute.
I do hear they're good pets for what that's worth. I'm sure Mr. Bliss would
My
not
cats
want to
will
know
not like
that.
them. All right, sorry about our wildlife interruption. Sorry, Nina.
No, you're right. So what I think you've almost probably answered half of this. Like, what does? Oh, no, you haven't. You've told me that you write on a couch. What does your writing process look like? Are you a pantser, a plotter? How do you come up with your books?
I am a pantser.
Yes.
My poor readers, because they always ask questions because they're like, I thought this happened and who's this person's kid? And I am so awful at keeping track of things. Like, I just go where the story takes me, and obviously sometimes it's a mess. My beta readers help me a lot with that, but yeah, I don't plan anything. And what's funny is a lot of times I'll have a cover reveal, and like my betas, like Renita will message me and be like, hey, what's this book going to be about? And I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
So are you the same?
You've got the characters in your head though, right? At that point.
Yes, I will know the character's name. But the rest, even how they look, sometimes changes. If I have a cover first,
yes,
it makes it easier to have a mental image. But sometimes I don't have the cover, and then in the book, their eye colors will shift. And
yeah.
Renita does not believe you, Chelle. Renita does not believe you. She says you don't know.
She
says you don't know
no, what?
the characters when you do the cover reveal.
Oh no, I know who the characters are, but do I know what's going to happen to them? No. Like for the for like my Heatwave series, I mean, I know, I don't always know who the girl is.
Yeah.
But or the boy, depending on whoever's like the one coming in that's not part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can relate to that.
I'm gonna interrupt. Here's my tomatoes I started from seed. Let me see them.
Go you.
You like
that? Is there some growing? Like,
no,
not yet.
Not yet. It's still too early because we just had our last frost a couple weeks ago. So
right.
But no, I am not a plotter. I wish I was. I plotted, I think, one book and it was awful. I felt very constrained by it.
Yes.
Even when I co-write, I refuse to plot it. Like when I co-wrote with Meredith, we literally came up with the blurb and we're like, okay, here's what the book's going to be about. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So when I co-wrote with Eden, she's a plotter. So I would write my chapter and she would be like, that's not what was supposed to happen in that chapter. And I'm like, it was to me.
I love that.
Are you a plotter?
I'm a bit of both. I have become more of a plotter because it saves me time in the end. I think it helps me stop writing into corners where I should not go.
I do that a lot.
Because I've had books where I've had to delete 40,000 words at a time because I've just kept going. And, do you get that feeling in your gut something's off, but you just keep pushing? Do you ever get that?
I do. And there have been times when I've had to erase like huge sections of the book, but I can tell when it's happening because I'll stare at the book for like 2 weeks and not be able to type a word. I'll keep rereading and I keep thinking, and if I could just find something and change it, it'll all fall into place. But I know when it doesn't magically play out in my brain,
Yeah.
that that there is an issue.
Yeah.
So I've had to delete huge sections or throw an entire book out and start again. And it's such an awful feeling. It really is.
Yeah.
But I've done that a lot, written myself into places where I'm like, this does not work. Like there is no forward from here at all.
So what I tend to do now is I know the characters and I get deep with them at the beginning. And I know where I want it to go generally. I'm not one of those people, you know, some authors say, I know exactly how the end is going to be. And I never know. Even when I'm writing, sometimes even when I'm writing what becomes the final chapter, I don't know it's going to be the final chapter.
I typically know when it's the final chapter. And then I'll be like, oh, that's a good spot.
Yeah, so that's
like a better thing than that.
That's
but
what Jodie and I do. Like, because by the time I'm on those last 5 chapters, shit's getting hectic, right? And I'm going fast, and we're doing all-nighters, and I'm tired, and I think I still haven't hit the mark, and then I'll get there and I'll go, oh, I think that might be it. What do you think? Or she'll say, dude, that's it. Stop. Like, stop right now. So. Yeah.
It's so funny because coming up to that time, you're like, oh my God, I just worked out how I can get rid of 1 chapter. Then you're like, I've got 12 chapters, and you text me, oh, I've got like 10, I'm got rid of 2 chapters. It's like so like frantic.
Renita's asking, Jodie, do I listen to you? Because Chelle obviously doesn't listen to her.
Not
You listen to
always,
Jodie?
but
No.
sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
I don't listen to anyone in my life.
I love that. I love that about you.
And since we're on the topic, you do have a question from, I think it's Z. That's, do you have any tips for cutting words from a chapter? They're working on their PhD and a thesis chapter, and she's horrible at cutting words, but love writing. So any advice is appreciated.
Well, PhD thesis writing is very different than fiction. I am not good at cutting words. So if I'm stuck, if I write myself into a corner, I will delete whole chapters until I can go forward. But I do not, after I write, I rarely go through and cut words. Like, I know some people, when they get their book back from the editor, they'll like go through and like redo a bunch and cut a whole bunch. And my books are never that long. I am not one of those people that could write 100,000 words, 120,000 words. Like if my books hit 65,000, I'm like, that is a long book. Like so there's not much for me to cut because I don't have a lot of fluff in my books. Like you're never going to know what color walls the people have in their home. Like I'm just not one of those type of writers.
Yeah.
So there's not a ton in that way for me to cut. But if I'm cutting words because I wrote myself into a corner and I'm stuck, I'll erase 1 chapter and see if that helps. And if it doesn't, erase another, and I'll just keep going back until sometimes there's no book.
Oh my God, that would be devastating.
What do you do?
Well, I don't tend to write myself too much into a wall anymore.
Oh, because you plot.
Yeah, but I can tell it's off. Like I'm in the middle of the book I'm writing at the moment. I knew it's in 2 parts, this book, and I knew that part 1 there was something not quite right with it, but I've sat on it for 6 months. And I've been trying to, like, I kept writing more at part 2, but I knew that part 1 wasn't right, so that was unsettling for me. And I just have to sit with it, I think. And then yeah, I don't now tend to delete whole books or 40,000 words at a time, but chapters, yes. Or I'll add. Yeah.
It's, I know I should plot, but
no, actually, no, you shouldn't. If it doesn't work for you, like, do you work with Becca Syme?
I have.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not something my brain doesn't work that way. Yeah.
So what I've actually learned from working with Becca, for everyone who's watching, Becca is a writing coach that we work with sometimes. I'm a, what do you call it? Phoenix writer. So do you know what that is, Chelle?
No, what's that?
So the Phoenix writer is the writer that like writes and burns herself right out and then has to rest and then sort of rise again, you know? So I work best when I have a deadline. If I don't have a deadline, the book will never get written. And generally, if just say there's a 4-month window that I have the book to write in, I'll stuff about for a lot of that time, plotting, planning, thinking. And my brain does not kick in until the very last minute. And then it goes bam, and then it will pump out, like a lot of words every day for a long, like 2 weeks straight. And so by the time we're done, I've probably done a 48-hour writing sprint right on the last to finish the book. And then I just had to crash. And so I tried to change that because they tell us not to write like that, right? You should write every day. You should do this, you should do that. And so I tried to change, and I'm just finally accepting now, like I was never going to change for me, because that's like, you're not a plotter. I'm not a steady state writer.
Yeah. Like I have to write, I've learned I have to write a chapter at a time.
Yeah.
So about 2,500 words, and I have to write it in one go. Like usually I'll get up in the morning and I start writing and I write my chapter, because number one, if I stop in the middle, it's hard for me to pick up, because I will not retain anything that I like. If I get up and go do something for like 4 hours and I come back, I have to reread to make sure, or else I will change in the middle of it. And so sometimes I can do 2 chapters, but usually it's just one. So 2,500 words. I mean, there are times when I've had to hit a deadline, so I've had to write 5,000 or 10,000 words in a day.
Yeah.
And it is so taxing. So I'm trying the write a chapter a day type thing. So
yeah, that's always worked for you though, right?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah,
it has.
Okay. Would you say you write MC? We've had this conversation recently.
So I don't know if I know what I write. Because I've heard people say, like, who's your favorite MC author? And people name me, and I'm like, a lot of my characters they either ride a motorcycle or they're part of an MC, even if the series doesn't take place around it. So I would say, I don't know. I'm not an MC writer like you are, but I definitely have that element in my books. To me, I thought I wrote family sagas. But some people are like, no, that's Debney Perry, Marie Force. Like, they don't typically think of me.
I do. I think of you for that.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
the Gallows, right?
I mean, to me, that's like 35 of my books are set in that world.
Yeah.
But I try to pull in elements from everywhere. I mean, to be honest, when I wrote the original Men of Ink, I wanted to write something that was going to be very broad that a lot of readers would like. So I literally went and looked, and I'm like, okay, sports is big, hence hook me. MC is big, throttle me. Undercover cop, resist me and uncover me. So like musician, without me. Like, that's what I did. And I was like, okay, because I'm trying to pull in like everybody. So I don't think of myself as like one specific.
Yeah.
I mean, I love MC. I'm okay with that label. If people think of me, that's great. I love that. But I'd hate for them to pick up my series thinking the whole thing's MC and then be like, what is this Sunday dinner shit? Like, they would be.
Does anyone not love that? Come on.
Yeah.
Rihanna, do we have any questions?
Not. We had one about the standing desk still, which we can go back to real quick. Was is it just a high desk you stand at, or also put a high chair at it at times to sit on? And do you find this is better for your posture?
I have an IKEA electronic one that can go up and down. So except my dog chewed through the cord, so now it's permanently up until I figure out how to fix that. But when it was going down, I would alternate, and I would sit on an exercise ball. at the desk. And my physiotherapist had said to me, you should never stand for a long period straight. It's not actually good for you. You should alternate, like, I don't know, like half an hour up, half an hour down, that type of thing. But I get so lost in the words sometimes that, like the other day, last week, I was 8 hours every day standing and just focused. And when that focus happens, like it's hard. I don't know about you, Chelle, but I find it hard to focus for that long, right? So if I'm that focused, I'm not stopping it for anything.
Yeah. No, I don't want to. If like something, when the words hit like that, you have to follow it, because it doesn't always happen. It's such a rare and beautiful thing.
It is. Yeah. And I had that for 3 days in a row. But then, of course, then on Thursday, I was like, yep, now I've got to lie in bed all day because I'm tired.
Sometimes I'll write really hard in the morning and then I fall asleep because like my eyes will be tired from writing and looking at the screen. And I'll take it like at 11 o'clock, my mom will text me and she'll be like, what are you doing? And I don't reply because I fell asleep. And she'll be like, why are you sleeping? It's 11, huh?
In the morning.
Yeah. She's like, you just got up. I'm like, I've been up like 5 hours writing. Like my eyes are tired. I needed a reset. So.
Because you're an early morning writer, yes?
Yeah, traditionally I had been, especially when like Brian's son lived with us, because I wanted time before everybody else in the house got up. But now, I mean, I'm usually up like 7, 8 o'clock. I'm a lot later than I used to be.
Yeah.
Not quite so early because it's just us. So.
Yeah, well, that's nice. You get to sleep in. What do you
have
Go.
Okay, we have another question, unless you want to go with that one. And
No.
It was Nina and Chelle. Would you say that you have a muse?
For each book.
Yeah, every book's a different muse. Typically, whoever that's on the cover of my book, if I'm lucky enough to find the cover before I start writing the whole thing, then that's kind of the picture has to tell me a story, or the look on his face does, or something.
I have to set up a Pinterest board for every book.
See, you're way more organized than I am.
So I literally have to set up a Pinterest board and a Spotify playlist because lyrics influence plot lines heavily for me. I would say music is a muse for me for sure, and then Pinterest, just the visuals.
I used to always set up playlists and I would listen to it on repeat when I was writing. And what's funny is now I need silence. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I go through phases in each book where, like, generally at the first like half to 3/4, I need music playing randomly, like the playlist of the book. Sometimes my brain wants to stick on 1 or 2 songs and they're on repeat. Then I go through a phase where it has to be dead silent, like don't give me any noise at all. And then right towards the end of the book, this is the weirdest thing, especially for writing MC, I have this tiny little playlist on Spotify that is full of One Direction songs. And for generally the last 5 chapters of every book, once I hit One Direction and Taylor Swift on repeat, you know the book's nearly done.
That's too funny.
It's like, it's only a few songs. And it's, I think because it's the butter in the lyrics is like unique, like universal romance butter, right? So yeah. So that's my muse. Yeah. What do you love most about the series that you write? Like what elements in the stories? Is it the alphas, the family?
It's the family.
I thought
that's my favorite stuff to write. Just I love the funniness of the family, and they're also nosy, just like my family is.
Yeah.
So
like home, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because my family is so nosy. But yeah, I love writing the family dynamic, and usually whatever character they're falling in love with has come from some kind of family that's either a broken family or they don't have a family, and it's all about like integrating in and becoming one with this big tribe of people. So yeah, I think the family aspect, which sometimes I hope my readers enjoy it as much as I enjoy writing that.
Based on your reviews, yes, they do. I went and read some to find out. I love the family too, and I especially love found family, which is what you've just described, really, isn't it? For a lot of
yeah.
And I think that's what I love about the MC is the found family.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about, writing some other series in the future that aren't families, that are found families, but not genetic families.
Yeah.
And, I don't know where I'm gonna go in the future, but I mean, the possibilities are endless. So
So you're not, do you like writing standalones or do you like to have that world that you build?
standalones sometimes are a nice refresher to me, but I don't have very many of them. Because it's nice not to have to think of like, oh, how old is this person compared to that person and what happened last book. And but I really like to write series, and I think my readers enjoy the series aspect.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like even when I wrote in Shrine, that's a standalone, but I always have readers who want the other characters, the brother and sister in that book, Bruno's brother and sister, they want them to have books. And I'm like, sounds like fun, but I didn't write it that way.
So when you're writing those standalones, or even like a first book in a series, I guess, do you find yourself with the side characters getting invested in them so much that you do imagine writing them now into a series?
When I write the first in series, I don't have very many standalones, and the few that I've had, I found ways to make them part of the series.
Yeah.
Like Top Bottom Switch, I wrote as a standalone, and somehow I made it into like someone's kid, Bear's kid, Rhett. So, but as I'm writing, like when I was writing Flame, and like the first chapter is Gigi, not your dog Gigi, but the other Gigi, with some of her cousins, and they're out at spring break, and it was like I was having fun writing the cousins, and I knew that their books would be down the line. So I was excited for that.
Yeah. Would you consider writing different genres
Outside of romance or within romance?
Well, within romance, but like maybe like, would you write YA or would you write?
Yes. I'd love to read YA.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling I wouldn't do YA right. And people would be like, that's not how you, because some people are very picky about those things. Like and I'd be like,
say some people. I'd say a lot of people.
Yeah, that's not how you do YA. I'd be like, I don't fucking know. Like, I read it. I don't know all the rules to it. So like, if it has rules, then no.
And you know what? Like, I reckon 10 years ago, even maybe 6 years ago, you'd be fine. You could create your own blend of YA. But in this day and age of TikTok, I feel like we can't get away with anything anymore. We can't. It's like shutting down creativity, in my opinion.
I don't pay too much attention to that.
I don't go on it, but I hear about it.
Oh my God, I love TikTok. I'm obsessed. I found it like in the middle of the pandemic, and I like loved it. And I was like, why didn't I find this sooner? I try like all these crazy recipes. I like one person like showed like a camera you put into your wall and see what's behind it. And like 2 weeks ago, I drilled a hole in the wall and I bought the camera and I like stuck it in there to see what was in the wall. Brian's like, what are you doing? I'm like, shh. So yeah, I would YA I like let's get back on topic. YA I like. I was always a dark romance reader.
Yep.
Before I started writing. I don't know if I could write it though. MC again has a lot of rules to it.
Does
like
it?
I still get people who will email me after reading Throttle Me, and they're like, tell them like they're in an MC, like they're the girlfriend, and they're like, this is what's wrong in your book. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
Wait, so tell me in case I'm doing it, because I don't know the
No,
rules.
I'm sure you're not, but they're like, they don't call the person friend ever. Like it's always brother. Like they always like, I'm like, whatever.
Oh,
like
I
it's
didn't
not
know
an
that.
MC book. Like I don't know. So
look, do you know I write MC, so there's no rules. That's why I chose it.
It's fiction. I can write what I want.
But I guess you're right. No, there are beats. It's a bit like the billionaire beats. If there's no wealth in a billionaire book, it's not a billionaire book.
That is correct.
right? So I guess I know
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want, I try not to get stuck. And I think that's why I like writing in the family saga world, because I can make that book. I can write a motorcycle guy in one book, and another book I could write someone who's an MMA fighter. I
Yeah.
don't really like the pigeonhole.
Yeah.
I think I would get bored if I only wrote, like, if I only wrote MC. I don't know if I would like it. My brain just, it needs
Yeah.
to go everywhere.
Yeah.
Whatever's my mood that at that moment.
Yeah, I get it. What is your biggest dream as an author? Like, are you an author that would love to see your books in movies, or?
I don't know if I would like that type of, I mean, it'd be cool. I guess that's probably the dream. The
Is
other
it
stuff,
your dream or everyone else's dream?
I don't necessarily need that. I think I've achieved everything I kind of wanted to achieve. So I don't want to say like I wouldn't be excited to have my book made into a movie or anything like that, but I don't really have. I'm trying to get you back on my screen.
Did I disappear?
Yeah, there you are. I mean, I feel like I've been extremely lucky with everything I've achieved so far. I mean, I never thought I would hit like USA Today or Wall Street Journal or any of those things. And I think the thing I want to achieve is just to put out books that my readers are going to love. So if a movie deal never comes, I don't care. I don't care if I never make it #1 on the Amazon store. Like, those aren't really that important to me. Just to have and keep people who love to read my books are probably.
This is why I like you. This is why I like you so much.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the same as me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, to me, having my books made into a movie is scary to me.
Yep. Because it would be different. It would be very different, right?
Yeah, like it's my own, it's not my own private world, but it is. And this is my life. Like I remember years ago, I got they were thinking about doing a reality TV show about romance authors. It was probably, I think it was around 2015. And there were a group of like 10 or 15 of us that were talking to producers, and like we even got contracts and everything. And I was like, I do not want people in my life. Not in that way.
No.
And I was like, like I love my world that I have now. I love my readers. I love my reader group. I love my author friends. Like I do not need more than that.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's mosquitoes. So to have everyone in the world, like Bridgerton with Julia Quinn and all, like that is scary to me. That is just,
yeah.
And but you know what, Nina, I think that comes a little bit, I don't know about from you, but with me, it's a little my imposter syndrome. Like I'm like, if people find my books, they may not like them.
Yeah.
Because maybe they're not that good. Like that is what I struggle with. So
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't actually interest me, and I would not want anyone in my life.
And I think to me, like it would, and someone says here, it will ruin people's imagination. And to me, that's true. Like even sometimes I think the cover might ruin someone's imagination. Everyone has different ideas of beauty.
Yeah.
And, I love getting lost in a book. I don't know of any movie I've seen that was better than the book.
No.
So for me to give someone the rights to my book just to shit it up.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. I agree. I actually just had some illustrations done of one of my characters, King, and his heroine. And
Did you want a coffee?
I really love them. I love seeing them brought to life in a drawing. But I'm actually like, oh, I don't know if the readers will now go, oh, that's not how I picture King. That's not him at all. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, I don't know if I even want to use these now because I don't need people saying that to me. Do you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I even sometimes with the covers, I'm like, then I'm like, oh, I think for people who are really invested in the series, you could probably literally just have a blank color on the cover and they would be like, I need this story and I will buy it no matter what's on it. Jody, I'm sorry I muted you because you were talking to someone in the background.
I turned the video off because it was quite
Okay.
distracting.
Because she might be like talking and we can't hear her. So
Yeah. I was wondering who was talking. I thought that was Brian.
no, he's inside. I don't even know where he is.
Okay. So we had some readers send us in some questions, Chelle.
All right.
Have we
You
ever
still
thought
have
of co-writing a book today? Not today, together, not today.
We talked about that a little today. It's funny because I've co-written. Have you ever co-written with anyone?
I did a little bit last year. I've done some with Janie K years ago. We never finished the book.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then I also did some collaborating last year. But then I had to pull out of it.
Yeah. We've never talked about it. Like, I don't think it's ever me and you.
We have. I forgot. We even had a Zoom meeting with Jody and we took notes.
Did we? No shit.
That was years ago. Like that.
Oh, I remember.
It was after we saw each other at Nink, I think.
What, Jody? She came on.
And when you like wrote notes, and there was going to be like an apartment, and they were going to be neighbors.
Oh, but
Like,
I think it was more than just us co-writing. I think we were going to develop a world.
Yeah, we were. We were gonna make it a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of it. I do. So, but we're both so scatterbrained. It would probably.
I wouldn't work. I would ruin it.
It's very hard to co-write with someone, and typically it starts off really great, but I've been blessed. I've been really lucky with the people I've co-written with, and it's gone good and it's remained good. But a lot of times they turn into disasters and can end up ruining friendships and everything else. Like it is very, very difficult. So,
Yeah, I don't think I would be a good candidate for it because of my approach of not being consistent every day with writing. Like, I know a lot of authors write one chapter, send it to the other day, write a chapter. I would be completely stressed. I'm letting you down. It would stop my creativity. It would be a hot mess to write with me.
It's a whole different type of pressure. So yeah, I guess we have to.
do you think this writing is like super personal too? Like when you're like writing like through like issues that you might be going through, do you think that's difficult to like share? Like, do you think that's a thing, or I'm not sure?
Not for me. That wouldn't be what would turn me off it. It would be just I would be constantly worrying, I'm letting you down. The words aren't good enough. You hate it. What are you really thinking? Are you being honest with me? Like I would overthink the shit out of that.
I had that issue when I co-wrote with Meredith Wild. Like every chapter I sent her, I was like, oh my God, it's so awful. I'm so embarrassed she's reading it. And we were good friends, but I was still like, oh, she's probably correcting every word I wrote. And, it was just this really weird feeling. And it took me about maybe a quarter of the book to realize that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
But there is this pressure like, oh, she sent me the chapter. I need to hurry up and write it and get it back to her.
Yes.
That I don't feel with my own books. But then we ended up writing the book really fast because of that, where literally I will just be like, I'm not going to write today because I'd rather go plant a tomato plant. So, I mean, it kept me on track more, but yeah, I mean, there's a different feeling when you're a different pressure.
Yeah. Do you have any one-click favorite authors that you just automatically one-click?
My one-clicks are Kristen Ashley, always. Even though I mean, because I've lived in her world long enough. I mean, when I feel burnt out and I can't write, I'll typically pick up one of her books.
Yeah.
One of my old favorites, like the Dream Man series or something
I
like
love that series.
I know. Which one's your favorite?
Hawk.
Motorcycle Man?
Oh, I do love Motorcycle Man, but I love Hawk. Mystery.
love
Is it
Hawk?
Mystery Man? Is that what
I
it is?
love tack. Tack's for me.
Yeah. Who's your favorite, Chelle?
Yeah, Attack
Yeah.
for sure. From
I
Motorcycle
do love
Man.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know if you ever have a book where when you think of a certain book, you know exactly where you were when you read it and you remember all the aha moments, right? So Tack was that for me. I can tell you the exact time I read it. I read it in bed. I had to put it down to drive my kid to a frigging birthday party. I was really pissed off about that. Like I can remember the details of reading that book.
Yeah. I have that with someone asked me to repeat it. It's Kristen Ashley. With Colleen Hoover's not Slammed, but the book after that.
Point of Return, is it? Or
Yes,
yeah.
Point of retreat.
that's it. I always call it Point of Release. But I remember where I was with that book and like crying. And another one is Elizabeth Marks. I don't know if you've ever read her.
I've not read her.
She has a book called Binding Arbitration. I remember being at work and reading this book at lunch in my car and just I cried all my makeup off. And I had to go back into work as a teacher with puffy eyes, makeup coming down my face, snot. Like that was the book I probably cried the hardest in my entire life at. And still to this day, I'll tell people, you want a good cry book, get Binding Arbitration. It says it's book 2, but you don't have to read the other one. Like you could just dive right in. But if you don't cry in that book, you don't have a heart.
Oh, I feel like that's a challenge. That's a challenge.
But I mean,
I just clicked that book right now. Need it in my life. Need to start it next weekend. Like this sounds
Okay,
like
well,
my very next read.
I will guarantee you will be messaging me, telling me I'm an asshole. You shall.
I absolutely love crying all the way through books. So I feel like you're my soul sister in this minute.
I love very emotional books, which is weird because I don't really, I mean, I guess I do in a way, write some emotional books, but not traditionally. I mean, I try to keep them pretty light and happy depending on my mood. But yeah, I think Kristen Ashley is probably my number one. Like I will click her book, even if I read it and I'm like, I mean, not every book can be fantastic.
Yeah.
I will still buy the next one because I know the feeling she gives me when I read her books.
Yeah. So do you read Kate Canterbury?
I have not.
Okay. So can't wait for the next book to come. I find myself looking on social media to see if she's got latest news.
I will have to check it out. Which book should I start with?
You either start with The Bell and the Beard, or I think it's called The Wrong Guy. That's
All
an
right.
Enemies to Lovers. Like that's a very good book. I
will pick
The Bell and the Beard though, like 100, Chef's Kiss. But that both of those books are really good. But Chelle, I reckon you should start with The Bell and the Beard.
All right.
So the guy is an arborist, right? He works with trees. I never in my day did I ever think that I would imagine a guy strapping himself to a tree and walking up a tree as hot. But she wrote it was hot. Like, give me an arborist. Where is one? I need him.
I had one of those in Florida. Like the guy put the rope up and just climbed that tree with his shoes. And I was like,
yeah. That's what you get in Bell and the Beard.
and then he swung to the next tree to cut that one down. And I was like, what is he? It was insane. So I could see. Yeah. I could see that.
I also like Carla Sorensen books.
I haven't read her, but I do have them on my Kindle.
Yeah.
But I have not read them. I love Bella Aurora. I need her to release more books.
Yeah, she hasn't released for a while, has she?
No, it's very long in between, like very long. But yeah, I love her books. Like there's certain, I still find myself going back to a lot of the authors from
back then.
Yeah, a long time ago, just because I know what I'm getting. I like that.
Yeah.
That knowing them. So, but there's so many great new authors out there too.
There's a lot, right? Yes. Exciting. And also like, when will I ever get to read all the books I want to read?
I try to listen to audiobooks a lot too, like when I'm doing other things, just so I can still hear things. Like right now, I've been listening to the whole Devney Perry, the Eden series. Like I've been doing all those audiobooks. So as I'm like tiling a floor or painting a room, because
Or playing with your
my whole
tomatoes,
house already. What?
or being with your tomatoes.
Yeah, so more of my tomatoes, I will put on an audiobook and listen to it. So at least I can read, even though when I can't read, I can listen to a book. Yeah.
Yeah. What
I have a question that I didn't get to submit. Can I ask?
go for it.
I want to know from both of you guys, like, has reading changed for you, like, since publishing? Like, do you find it harder to read, like, for leisure? Like, does it feel more of does it ever feel like a chore? Does it ever feel like it makes you feel insecure in your writing? Like, how has reading books changed since becoming an author?
For me, it hasn't become a chore. I just don't have enough time for it. I don't get to read as often as I would like. I mean, I used to tear through a book in a day. I know, like, I read ACOTAR when when it got big on about a year ago or 2 years ago on TikTok. And I like blew through those books. I think in a week I read the entire series. I don't look at it and compare myself. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, they write so damn beautiful or something like that. But I just wish I had more time to read. But I think people think we just write, and then, like, I know my family at times, they probably think I write a few words and then I sit and do nothing. But it's like, writing is such a small part of the job for me because there's so many other things to do. So it's like, I wish I just had more time to read. It hasn't taken away my love of reading. I don't get jealous of other people's writing or their success. I don't compare myself to others, but I just wish I had more time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as you. I would say that the main thing that has changed for me with reading is my ability to focus. And I mean, I think that's probably a worldwide thing, not just since like a me thing. But before publishing, like I didn't have my own business that I was thinking about 24/7. So I used to read 5 to 7 books a week. I would work during the day, read at night on the weekends, and blog books. And since publishing, like, there's just so much to do that
your brain is always working. Like I get in trouble with my mom a lot. She's like, don't you ever listen to anything I say? Because I'll be like, you didn't tell me that. And she's like, yes, I did.
Yeah.
But she doesn't understand, like, at all times my brain is either working on the story or working on something with, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing social media, that I am listening, but my retention of it is just.
Eliane says to me, or she, not anymore, but when she lived with me, she would say, oh, you're plotting, because she'd be talking, and obviously I would have the glazed eye stare, and she'd go, oh, you're plotting, okay, I'll tell you later. Because literally I was constantly, and that's what I find actually with writing, and I think that's why I lose focus sometimes with books, because a lot of authors say they don't read romance while they're writing it because they think they're worried they're going to copy. I don't have that at all. I don't worry about that. But what happens for me is it gives me ideas, not like the book, but just it sparks creativity while I'm reading. And then, of course, I want to then go and write. Oh, like at the moment, I'm reading fantasy. Now I want to write a fantasy book. Like, it's too distracting sometimes.
I love fantasy. Like I said, I read ACOTAR. That's fantasy, right? I mean, I don't even know my genres.
I think so. I don't know either. Ask Jody, she'll tell you.
I love Kristen.
It is fantasy. It is fantasy. My favorite.
Yeah, I love it. And I love Kristen Ashley's Fantasyland series.
Oh my God, me too.
Is that the one with the vampire and wolf and that in it?
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah. I actually years ago, I won that vampire book in some kind of competition, right? And so they sent it to me, and I was like, why would I want to read this, right?
But you read it.
But I read it because it's Kristen Ashley, right? And I actually did like vampires, but I just wasn't in a vampire mood. But I was like, oh, fuck it, it's Kristen Ashley, I'll give it a read. Dude, it's one of my favorite vampire books of life. And of course, then I went straight and bought the Wolf book. And then I think I loved it even more. Is that Callum's book, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I did love all those.
Yeah. I mean, I love reading different like I love reading fantasy. Like when I read ACOTAR, like it was so nice to get lost, even it has romance and all that. I mean, I loved getting lost in that world. But I don't really worry so much when I'm reading and like, oh, I'm gonna copy that or anything like that. But like when I get stuck, I will pick up like what's her first chaos book? I forget what it's called now. But I'll pick it up or Motorcycle Man, just because I like how the guy talks, like the cadence of it, and it's very easy to read. It's not like, it doesn't make my head hurt because
I like her storytelling way of telling a story.
I do, and I think I mine is a little similar, just because it's not big words. Like I don't need a dictionary when I read it. Like it's just easy, and to me, I read a book for entertainment. I want it to be an easy read. I don't want to be like, I don't want a book to make me feel like I need a better education to understand what is inside.
Yeah.
Like I did that shit in college. I don't want to do that now. So,
and the other thing is, I find her alphas are believable. Like there's a lot of books I read where the alphas will say things like declarations of love or whatever to the heroine, and I'm just like, I have never known a man who would use that language, yet I can see readers are highlighting the shit out of that passage. I'm like, obviously the readers love it, but to me it doesn't feel real.
Have you watched Yellowstone?
Yes.
Now her alphas remind me very much of Rip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like
yes, that's
with how he is with Beth, like, I love you, but you're fucking crazy. Like that type of language, like that's how her alphas are. But yes, I mean, it's not like some of the books I read, I'm like, if any man said that to me, I would fucking kick them right in the, but her books, I don't feel that way. Like her alphas are, it all comes from such a loving place. And that is very clear.
Yeah.
I think maybe there was only one book where I was like, I was a little thrown off by the guy. But yeah, I mean, I hers are very believable to me, and that's what I love about them.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Can y'all repeat the author? Can y'all repeat the author to the vampire book, then the wolf book?
Kristen Ashley.
That's what I thought.
Her Fantasyland series.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hopefully that.
I think there's 4 books in that series now.
Is there any more questions, Rihanna, Jody?
Yes, I have a couple that I wrote down as y'all were talking. One was from somebody and they asked, Chelle, do you come from a big Italian family?
I do. It used to be extremely large, but through the years people have passed, so everyone's kind of scattered around, but yeah, a big group of Italians.
Awesome. Someone else also asked or said, I've read almost all of Chelle's books, but Nina, where should I start with yours?
So if you love MC books, Storm is the beginning. There's 3 series in that world, and Storm is the very first book. That's
the first book. That's when we started being friends, not
Fierce.
It was that, because I remember your original cover.
Yeah.
And somebody looked up your dates.
Original cover. Ugh.
Somebody looked up your dates, and Nina published in 2013 with Storm, and Chelle, you published 2014 with Throttle Me.
No, she actually released 2 books before.
I had 2 books before that.
Oh,
I've taken them off all retailers. So
okay, so maybe that's why nobody could find that.
Yeah, but yeah. So here's the thing though. Like I always get a little stressed when people ask me which book to start with, and I'll be really honest with you. Storm was my first written book, and it is my worst written book. And in fact, it's 10 years this year, and I keep saying I'm going to rewrite that book this year. I'm going to rewrite that book, and I mean, I really do want to try and fix it.
Don't.
Oh my God,
No,
so
like, I
many
feel that
people-
way about Throttle Me too. Like people are like, I love that. I'm like, oh, like I cannot like, because when you wrote it, it was magic, Nina, and you're gonna go back and take the magic away.
Well, here's what I find: like people, if they like it enough to go on to Fierce, generally I keep them. If they can get through Storm and they go to Fierce, they're like, oh, okay, she got a bit better, right? Because literally what I did, I looked at every bad review of Storm before I wrote Fierce, and then I said, these are the things that I need to fix.
You're such a brave person. I had to stop reading reviews because I literally could not write because I would like it literally gutted me when I read like bad reviews. So I just stopped.
So
I have to say, I've been with Nina and she'll get this question like, what book should I start with? Like, where should I start? And she'll say, any book other than Storm. And it's hilarious. And I remember when we first started working together, I was like, stop telling people Storm's a bad book.
But we do that all the time. Like people will be like, what should I read after the original Men of Ink series? And I'm like, the South Side series. And people are like, no, the Alpha series. And I'm like,
that's
well,
exactly
no,
so I
that
pull
series.
Yeah. And so now I've got my billionaires. I try and just tell everyone to start with Ashton Scott, but some people don't want to read billionaires. So
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I feel that way about some books too, but you know, like I think about going back and rewriting some of my original books, but I'm like, you know, I think the readers, I don't have that kind of time, because I think it would take me so long and I'd probably end up rewriting the whole damn thing.
I would too. I've actually tried, Chelle. I've tried to just fix it, and it's actually harder to fix a book than to just start from scratch, in my opinion.
Yeah. So like your readers rather have a new book from you
Yeah.
than like I don't know, if you do it, let me know.
I also wonder what kind of like changes would happen at that point, because you've already written the story, and
Yeah.
what changes would then
So-
flow through the rest of the club, quote
Would
unquote.
you just be fixing like the flow of the writing, like the grammar?
I would fix the heroine, because a lot of people say they don't connect with the heroine. And it would just be literally slight changes to what she says and how she reacts to things.
I'm only laughing because some books people are like, oh, that heroine was so whiny. And
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, she's me though.
I know, and so that's what I laugh about
Well,
Madison.
I'm the whiny twat.
Yeah, Madison was a little like the stuff that people complain about with Madison and Jay was the stuff that I had in my relationship with Eliane's dad. That was my therapy book, right? I worked out my shit in that book. And I'm like, and people say that would have never happened in a relationship. Well, yeah, it did. So
It's part of the story and the journey.
I feel the same way, like with Simple Intent, people don't like the female in there, and I'm always like, maybe I should go back and rewrite her. But I think I would be too I would end up rewriting too much.
Yeah. Rihanna, in answer to your question, it literally would be, I'd have to just change Madison a little bit. And I would do more showing and less telling, because that book, I was heavily influenced by Danielle Steele, right? I used to read Danielle Steele when I was younger. And if there's one author I know who does telling more than showing, it's Danielle Steele, right? She literally does a big info dump in chapter 1, catches you up to everything. It's the most boring way to start a book, but it gets all the information across. And so that was how I used to write. So I have actually re-edited that book once, so I have changed a lot of that, but there's still, it needs more depth. It just needs better writing, in my opinion.
I think I've read both copies, because I found you very long time ago, and then I like stopped reading for a hot minute, and then I read it again in the last couple of years. So I think I've read both.
Yeah,
Like when a reader tells me like, I've been with you since your very first book, I'm like, man, you are brave to stick it out. Like you must really.
I have readers in my reader group, and when I see their name, I'm like, wow, I remember when you joined 10 years ago.
I mean, I just posted like when I started writing Resist Me, I think it was like 8 or 9 years ago. And like some of the people on the original post, like I know their names, like they're still around. And I'm like, it's funny because we've known so many people for so many years, and I'll see someone's kid online and I'm like, when did they grow up? And it's like, tell me it's been 10 years.
Yeah, right.
That happens.
I've got more questions for you. Chelle, will there be more of the Chicago gallows?
People got so many questions.
They do.
Yes, there will be more. I have to write the second generation of that. That's probably where I'm going after the Heat Wave series. I have one more book in the Heat Wave series, which is Cinder, which I'm writing right now. And then I'll probably go over, I could use a little change to the Chicago side of the family.
Perfect. With second generation conversation, Nina, do you plan to write any second generation books?
Yes. And if you're in my Patreon, which you were, Rihanna, you might remember that I did start to set that up in some of the bonus content that I wrote. Yeah.
I knew. Yeah.
The problem is my brain works in complete linear fashion. So I could probably actually write some of these books now and then go back and write other characters' books, right? Like, oh, you love this character, let's get their story. But my brain is like, no, but their story comes first. You have to write it first, right? Does your brain work like that, Chelle?
Yes. Like I ended up for Heat Wave, the second generation, I wrote the stories based on their birth order in the first series, which I probably fucked it up a lot. I'm not very.
I love how you lead like I'm telling you a secret. I fucked it up.
It's really fucked up. I'm not really great at like being like, this person is older than that. Like I still get questions like, who is older? And I'm like, I don't know. It's very ambiguous. So like I had to work through it that way.
Yeah.
When writing my books. But it's difficult to write in some, because there's stuff from the first series that kind of carries over people, and it starts to get so big.
Yep.
That
I bought a massive folder, and I'm got birth dates. I'm really starting to keep a Bible now because I'm like, I
birth
can't.
dates. Like
Yeah,
you have date, like
I went through after I finished the original Storm series after Cult. I actually wrote out. I had to go and write what year the books were set in. So I could see on a timeline. Then I had to work out which, like the names of all the children that they had and their ages and where they fit on the timeline. My brain is like, we need this information before we.
I don't know what year my books are set in.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. It's not so much a year that they're set in. I just had to put it on a timeline that this book came first, and then this one
right.
months later, and then I had to assign a year.
I mean, there was something in my reader group yesterday, like this one couple, I keep changing their kid's name and like everybody.
Don't worry, you know what Jody told me? She's been reading all my Storm books, and she said, you've got a few names that you really just like to use over and over.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I always just have this little giggle, like, I think there's some time between writing these books because they have the same mother's name, Nellie.
Yeah. And then I've also got, when I wrote the original Storm series, I'm pretty sure that one of the restaurants or clubs was called Scarlet. And of course, then at the end, years and years later, I wrote a character called Scarlet. So clearly I love the name Scarlet.
You do. It's hard to remember all that little stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions, Rihanna?
Yes. So Laura would love to know how Chelle decided on the cover for Cinder.
I always do one cover in a series different. So typically it's been couples. So like in my original Men of Ink Resist Me as a couple, Flo has a couple. Like I always do something like that. But as Nina knows, if you have a couple on a cover, you cannot advertise on Amazon or Facebook. Like it's extremely difficult. So that I was like, okay, my different cover. And I try to find, so since here's where I kind of mess myself up. When I start writing a book, I already have an image of that person. So I either have to find the cover beforehand and then start writing, and I base it off that. because once I start writing, it is so hard to find the perfect cover to match my words I've already wrote. So I searched for a boy or a girl. Oh, there's a deer now. I live in like the forest. The
You do?
magical forest.
You're
Oh,
like a
it's looking at
fairy.
me. I bet it's gonna eat all my things. So I looked everywhere and I looked for boy photos and girl photos and couples photos, and nothing stuck out to me but that one picture. So that's how I landed on it. And like I said, I always have one photo in a series that's a little bit different.
Awesome.
Thank
And
God
we
there's no
also have
bird.
what are Chelle's thoughts on her speed demon book? I'm seriously going to buy this, is what this reader said.
What's what?
Are Chelle's thoughts on her speed demon book? I'm just curious if this is to a different author, but I'm seriously going to buy that book. That's what a reader wrote.
I did write Misadventures with a Speed Demon. That was a really fun. So I wrote that book after I went with my friend Kathy Koopmans. We went to the NASCAR race at Bristol in Tennessee, and we spent like a weekend, and we had RVs and we had fun, and it was a great time. And I came back and I was like, I want to write a race car book. So that's when I wrote that book. It was a lot of fun to write, and I loved going to the Bristol Speedway. I did not smell so good by the time I got home, but it was a lot of fun.
I just read a comment. I found the chat, girls. I found it after the whole an hour and a half nearly.
Good job.
Brenda Hawkins, Brenda, you crack me up. She wrote, did you see this, Chelle? She said, I never knew what Chelle looked like, and I'm so shocked she seems so normal.
What's that mean?
So Bren is one of my dear readers. I've met her, and she is just the most down. You would really love her, actually. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I just laughed. I thought that was funny. You're not,
What? Like, I'm not like, look, I'm here in my onesie. Look. With my gray hair, like no makeup. I'm just I've never had a really good I've always like not been great with my self-confidence. So I have a hard time
Really? Like
posting. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a hard time posting pictures of myself. Like TikTok, I wish I could post TikToks all the time. But I record myself and I'm like, oh, I can't post that. Like, I don't know where that body image problem, like the look, and especially as I get older.
Look, I get it. I have it too, but I would never have suspected that you have it.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really bad like that. And I look at people who are like pictures of themselves, and I'm like, oh, it must be nice to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna post that. But I need to get better at that, because as a reader, I do not give a shit what the author looks like. I like to see them. I like to be able to associate who they are. So
Yeah.
it's just me.
Yeah. Sorry, Rihanna, I cut you off. Is there any more questions? And you've got some questions too?
I have some. I made some. But that was it for reader questions, I think, from the chat box.
All right.
And of course, if anybody keeps coming up with any more, they're welcome to send them.
Cold.
Yeah, we'll do your questions, Rihanna, and then we might wrap it up. So Chelle,
we can also just do like one or two, and that's totally fine.
Okay, you
I was curious, Chelle, if you had a favorite couple of, like, I know Nina has a few that just really like stick with her, that she's like, I can jump back into their heads at any moment. Do you have a couple of characters like that, a couple set that works for you like that?
I do. I mean, I feel like a majority of them, I feel that way. Like I could jump right back into Gigi and Pike, Tamara and Mammoth. Which is funny because when I wrote it as Tamara, but my audio narrators did Tamara. So I was like, well, I guess we'll leave it at that.
Just FYI,
And
Tamara is the correct way.
I know that. Where do you think I came up with that? But and so I think probably the newest one, or even if we're going old series, Resist Me with James and Izzy. Like I could jump into Izzy's brain so easily. Yeah. But not
That's
every character is like that.
Yeah.
There's just some that kind of stick, which kind of goes towards what I was going to use for my next one, which is, did anyone in your life kind of like inspire you with these characters? Or like, obviously we kind of went over the muse question, but so like Nina mentioned, like the therapy book was Storm. So like, did you have like inspiration in that kind of a way for characters?
Yeah, I mean, like when I wrote in Shrine, like a few of my family members, my grandma, my dad were going through cancer, and that kind of inspired that storyline. I would say every book I write is inspired by something that's happening in my life around me, whether it's not always right away that I write about it, but it always goes back to me working out something that's gone on in my life. So yeah, I mean, it's people around me definitely play a role. And then there's always people in the books that are based on people in my life, like the mothers, who are always a little over the top. They're usually inspired by my mom.
Yeah.
I
I know
imagine
she's
it makes it
listening because she don't know how to Zoom. So.
Watch out, Nina said she's gonna post this.
She's not in Nina's group either.
Oh, that's funny.
I think that's just a really cool thing about like writing in general, is that like there's so many pieces to the author inside those books also, that just kind of gives us, it allows readers to cling to pieces that they see inside themselves, but also reminding us that y'all are human too, and that chances are something in this book, even if it was a struggle, a strife, a beautiful moment, whatever the case may be, that's there's probably some piece of you inside of that. Obviously the whole book is you, but like there's a piece that inspired that part of the book. So
yeah, that's my favorite part. Like there's a book I wrote, War of Hearts, and it deals with PTSD, and I didn't know when I was writing it, like actually where the book was going. I thought it was going in one direction, and then it went fully into the PTSD part of it. And that was me working out my stuff. But my favorite thing about that is a reader emailed me like release day. She'd read it, and she said, because at the end of it I put a note like, if you suffer PTSD, here's some, like, I really recommend you like talk to someone if you can, and all this stuff. And she said, you've inspired me now after 30 years. Something happened to me 30 years ago, and now I'm actually going to go and get therapy after reading this book. Like, and I said to Jody that it doesn't matter if this book doesn't even sell, because that's why we write books,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I get an email about Enshrine and someone who has gone through cancer treatment or has a family member who has, like, I'm like, that is the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
Like when they email me about their personal story or how my book helped them, like that is the best.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the connection, right? That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that wrap up all the questions, Rihanna?
let's wrap it there.
Wrapped up there.
I have a billion. I can always come up with more. I'm a therapist
Sorry.
for a living.
I always
Let's
get
be
you-
real. I
You
can
always
dig
want
in.
questions for me, and then I never let you give them.
Oh no,
You're
she's a
fine.
therapist for a living. She's probably over there like
Actually, it's funny because we've talked about this before, because I work with body image and eating disorders, and I was like, oh, I can tell you a little bit of why you probably feel that way.
Yeah.
listen,
totally
I did
fine.
therapy and my therapist was like, I want you to stand naked, maybe she didn't say naked, in front of the mirror every day and pick out one part about yourself you like. And I'm like, no.
No, I wouldn't prescribe that either.
So you didn't do
but-
Oh, I'm just looking at myself in the mirror like,
Dude, I've done this therapy too, and I did do the looking at myself in the mirror. It's not fun times, but it actually does help over time. And like, I'm not cured. I don't think you'll ever be cured, but like, it does help a bit. Mm.
I don't know. I wish I wasn't that way. And it's funny because like I didn't, I used to stand up in front of a class every day and teach, but posting a picture on social media, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
I always think about it, and what I say to people is like, we only get to see a snippet, and they're showing you the best version of what's happening that day. You don't get to see the ugly parts that are actually happening, like the real world scenario. We're only seeing the airbrushed beauty that is on the Instagram.
But that's so true, because my mom will be like, how's your release going? I'm like, it's going good. And she's like, are you having so much fun with it? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, as much fun as you always are. And I'm like, being on the other side, releases are not that fun. They're very hectic. There's a million things happening. It is so hectic. And I'm like, she's basing it off what she reads on social media.
Yep.
Like, you were so excited. Where's that excited person? You don't seem that excited today. I'm like, I'm stressed is what I am. So, yeah, I mean, what people see online is like a small portion of what's going on that day. You don't see like at 7 a.m. on release day, I'm trying to type out an email because I didn't do it the week before, like.
Yeah,
you had 18,000 other things you were doing.
Yeah.
So true. Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us, Chelle.
Yes, thanks for having me, babe.
And Rihanna and Jody, thank you for helping.
I miss you. I hope to see you soon.
Are you?
It was beautiful to see you, Chelle. And of course, Nina, it's lovely to see your face.
Are you going to Denver signing, Chelle?
No. I got invited to it and I turned it down, and then now you're going, and I'm like,
you can just email and change that no to a yes.
I forget, when is it? Like in April?
April.
I wonder why I turned it down.
Jody's coming. You should definitely come. We can get the gang back together.
I might have to. I'll look.
Yeah.
Like, I'm counting down to this. Like, you must get there, Chelle.
We can have another lunch with therapy. Remember that lunch we had where we all cried?
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I'll see. There was a reason. I don't know why. I don't know.
I saw your name on some signing. What signing are you booked for?
Next year, Chicago.
Yeah.
Wild and Windy. And then I'm doing Columbus in a few weeks because it's close to me. It's only a couple hours away.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wild and Windy. But I want to do more. It's just, I feel like I've been out of the signing game for so long.
Same. And I actually got some invites just recently, and I was like, oh, what's this? People inviting me to signings again? Like,
I know. Last year we went to our first signing in years, me and Brian, and I didn't bring my sign. I forgot all my bookmarks. I had no swag. I barely remembered books. And I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. And I was like, we packed a whole box of stuff and literally left it in the house. Like, it's so, like, it's a lot of work, and I forgot exactly how to be organized for it. So yeah, I'll check into Denver. I know Brian would probably like to go to that one. So
I hope you guys can come.
Yeah, because I want to see you guys.
Yes. Thank you to everyone for coming. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope we haven't talked for too long. Some exciting news is that next month I will be chatting with Autumn Jones-Lake.
Ooh.
On July.
That would have been fun.
You could come if you want. You can come too. July 15 US time, July 16 Australian London time. Sorry to all my UK girls. This is very late for you.
Because the last time we were together, she was there.
She was. Yeah.
It was the three of us. And Jody.
It was. And Jody.
Brian.
Yeah. 5 of us. Yeah.
I'm feeling left out. No, not really. But I'll come listen. How fun.
I will be much more organized with the Zoom link. I will do it straight away and give it to you straight away. people, I promise.
Nina, you did brilliantly. You were great at like posting about this. I felt like it was terrific. It was very easy for me to share, and I think you were very good at getting the information out there. So
Thank you.
keep it up.
And I figured
Picked
out
up. I don't know
how to
what-
get this going so not everyone's video was showing.
Yeah, and you got to make sure to like mute all at the beginning because
did
any
that.
little noise you can hear.
Yes.
So good job. I'm very proud of you.
Do I get a gold star, teacher?
You do. You do. I give you
And
a
she can
slap.
give them. She can give them.
I've actually learned in Pilates, I'm motivated by gold stars. Never would have known it. Yeah,
I'll remember that.
a random thing about me. Okay, I'll let you all go. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Love you. Hope
Thank
to see you
you. Love you.
soon.
Yes, bye.
Bye.
I have to figure out how to stop recording.
It will stop